Chào Gon, Minh Ngọc.
Teacher,
How are you, Minh Ngọc?
I'm doing well, but I have some news.
Some news.
Yeah,
Yeah, what? What?
I don't know, maybe someone is mentioning me.
Yeah. So, sorry, what sort of news?
I know it's a snooze. Yeah, I have a sneeze.
Oh,
Sneezing.
you have to sneeze.
Yes.
Okay. 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 Um, so I'm just going to wait a moment to see if Ngọc Linh will join us. I haven't heard if she is going to join us or not, but I'll just wait a moment or so. Just have to go get my cat. Hang on a moment. She's making a noise.
Yes.
Because it's cold, she wants to come in here. I've got the heater on.
Yes. I
So
love cats too.
hang on, I just go find her. I hear her making a noise somewhere. Okay, I found her.
Wow, that's a big cat.
Here she is. Quite big, yes.
That's so cute and so
Say,
adorable. Yes.
she is very adorable. Go on, say hello to Ming Nok. Xin chao, xin chao. Right, I'll put her by the heater. I've had her quite a long time. She's about 13 years old.
Oh, 13, that's
Yeah,
high.
getting
Yeah,
quite old. Yeah,
this is
getting
a
quite
great
old.
age at, at cats. I have never seen that a cat, it's like more than 10 years old, but this is the first time.
Hmm. Okay. Sorry, can you hear me okay? Your signal was breaking up a little bit. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes, yes, I can hear you now. Can you hear me now?
Okay. All right. I can hear you now. That's better. That's better. Okay, so we will start anyway. I won't wait any longer for Knockling, just in case she is not coming. All right. Do you have any questions from yesterday?
Yesterday, I think I have a little bit question, but about writing, because it's
Okay.
now I have to sprint. It's not a marathon anymore. So, but I
Mm.
felt that my both of my vocabulary and about my explanation is kind of not too good. So, what should I do in the remaining days? If it's I should I focus on learning vocabulary or writing and learn from simple question?
Okay. Difficult question. Of course, you should do both. Hang on, I just want to share. I'll share something with you. Have a look at this. Okay. Can you see the document I've just sent you on the
Yes, I can
screen?
see it.
Okay. So, first of all, a couple of useful websites to help you. All right. You mentioned yesterday you look at some things online. These two websites are the ones I think are most useful for you. Okay. So The first one is IELTS Advantage. Have you ever looked at that before?
Oh, yes, I knew that you usually use it as
Yes.
in our class, so I have found it about their channel, and I think they are kind of interesting.
Yeah, they have many, many different lessons and suggestions, to help you improve. And it's very, I think, very easy to follow, not difficult. So yeah, look at their different writing classes, okay, to give you an idea of, and look at their sample essays like they have online. I've seen them. They have hundreds of different essays, and that will give
Yes.
you an idea of just one, the sort of vocabulary, and also how to structure your answer. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so just go on and look at them. That's the best advice I can give you. The other one, and this one is just for speaking, there is a site called English Speaking Success. Okay, and that has some good suggestions for speaking, especially part one. Actually, I'll just share something with you now. Can you see what I've written down here? Practice shadowing.
Yes.
Okay, have I talked to you about this before? Shadowing?
I think you have never told me before, but I have learned it online, and I heard that it like we like imitate their pronunciation, grammar, and fluency.
Yeah, it's not so much imitate, but just 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 read exactly what they are saying after they have read it. Okay, and that will help you improve. You don't need to memorize what he's saying for his answers. Okay, but it will give you an idea. Hopefully, if you keep doing it, give you an idea of just what is the correct form of words and grammar, and copying him will help you with your pronunciation, lots and lots of different things, just by repeating what he says. Actually, might try something now. Hang on just a moment. Okay. Actually, I better turn on the sound before I do that. Okay. Have a listen to this.
Did you have a mobile phone when you were a child? No, not at all. I didn't. My parents wouldn't allow me to have a phone. They didn't want me to have a phone until I was 15. So yeah, I had to wait until then. I think they were afraid of the negative impact on social media on me as a teenager. Did you have a mobile phone when you were a child?
Okay, so just ignore the way he is speaking. Okay,
Yes.
he's doing it just to be funny. Okay, you
Yes.
don't need to speak like that. But just for me, just try and oops,
Did you have a mobile?
sorry, just shadow his answers. I will stop after each phrase and get you to repeat it for me. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, so just wait till he answers the question.
Mobile phone when you were a child? No, not at all.
No,
I didn't.
no, I didn't.
Okay, good,
My parents wouldn't
Parents wouldn't
allow me to have
allow me have a phone.
good.
a phone. They
They
didn't want me
didn't
to
want
have a
me to
phone
have
until I was
until I was
15.
15.
So yeah,
So
I had to
yeah, I
wait
had to wait
until
until
then.
then.
I think they
I
were
think they were
afraid
afraid
of
of
the
the
negative impact
negative
on
snack on
social
social
media
media.
on me as a teenager.
Teenager.
Okay,
Did you have?
good. That's good. So just like that, have you practiced doing that before, Ming?
I think I'm not used to it because it's kind of hard for me to follow someone's structure.
Right. But you should practice. You can stop the video, by the way. Okay. You don't have, what you were doing was really good. But if he's going too fast for you, or if there are some words you don't understand, just stop it after each phrase or sentence before you repeat, if that is easier for you. But like I say, it will help you with your vocabulary, your pronunciation, your grammar, and your fluency. Just gets you used to speaking in the way that the examiner would like. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you go to the English speaking success site, and that guy has got lots of just short answers like that. Like I say, you don't have to memorize the answers, and some of his answers I think are not that good, but it does just gets you used to the idea of the language, practicing the language. Okay. Any questions about that?
I don't think so. I think it's okay.
Okay, good. All right. And the other thing, just before we go on to doing some speaking ourselves, okay, so can you see here what I have written in red on this document?
Yes, where are the suggestions to improve your score, which you might see online?
Okay, so some teachers online will say this is how you get a better score. Okay, number one, use more advanced vocabulary. And I think I've said to you already many times, it's much better to use simple words correctly than to try use advanced vocabulary and make a mistake. Of course, use more advanced words if you are exactly sure you know how to use them, but otherwise, much better just to talk simply. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And number two, write more complex sentences. So writing clear, simple, easy to understand sentences, much better. And the last one, add more idioms. Some teachers online say, oh, you have to have lots of different English idioms, such as fit as a fiddle or chalk and cheese, things like this. Again, unless idioms are a little bit tricky and unless you use them exactly correctly, it just feels like you are trying to use them to try get a better score, and that is not part of communication. So they will take marks off for that. If they think you are just trying to
Yes.
use an idiom just to try and get a better score, yeah, they will notice that straight away. You have to be able to use an idiom exactly correctly. I'm sure the same in Vietnamese. Unless you use it exactly correctly, it doesn't sound right, doesn't make sense. So again, looking at the IELTS Advantage site, I think they looked at students' Band 9 answers, and they found of all the words they used, about 1% were idioms. 99% weren't idioms, so don't worry about it. Okay? Don't worry about idioms. Does that make
Yes.
sense?
Yes,
If
as
you, yeah,
natural as possible.
Yeah, if you go online too much, you will see too much advice, and a lot of it is not correct. All right, so the main thing I will say to you, just do simple things correctly, and you'll get a good score, okay? As long as you do simple things, no mistakes, that is the way to get a good score. Okay, are you ready for, we're going to do part 2 today and part 3. Are you ready for part 2?
I think I'm ready.
Okay, so you can see your topic here, all right? So describe a city you have visited and want to go back to in the future. So I'm going to get you to talk, of course, for 2 minutes. And I'm going to give you a minute to prepare. Then we will go back and analyze your answer. Okay, so you have 1 minute, Minh, starting from now. Okay, that's 1 minute, Minh Ngoc. So you have 2 minutes to tell me about a city, starting from now, please.
Um, when telling about city that I have visited and want to go back in the future, which come off the top of my head is Nha Trang City. It is located in the like in the middle of Vietnam, and but what impressed me a lot is about its scenery, is about this really romantic. It's contain a lot of sea, and actually I am attracted by their fresh seawater, which is crystal clear, and even I can see through it and see the small creatures like running around under the seawater. Moreover, because it located in the like some coastline of Vietnam, uh, can it have a lot of seafood. It's really a signature of this city. And moreover, the thing that I have to mention to you is the night market is really lively in the evening when everyone uh, they open some like small vendors, like even the street vendors have the really good taste of street foods. I have eaten a lot of food there, but there is one signature thing that I remember is a grilled squid. They are adding with some spice, and they grill it on like some barbecue machine. I'm not sure about that, but actually it's give up a really good vibe and really good taste, which is a little bit spicy, a little bit like smoking, like bit like the taste of smoke, and also it's really savory. And I think this is the one reason that why I want to come back to Nha Trang City. Uh, on the other hand, I think
Okay,
that
okay, that's 2 minutes, Minh Ngoc. 2 minutes already.
okay,
Okay, okay. So that's not bad, Minh Ngoc. So you can easily talk for 2 minutes. Okay, so that's good. You are able to easily talk for 2 minutes. Um, so you didn't make many mistakes with your vocabulary. However, your talk sounded to me a little bit, hmm, what can I say? A little bit disorganized. Like for your preparation, you should write down a list of bullet points, okay? Things that are interesting for you about Nha Trang, okay? And then talk about what things look like or taste like or sound like and how you feel about things. Um, so in don't give so you never give a list of things that are maybe to do in Nha Trang. You know, I mean, you talked about the food. You could spend the whole 2 minutes easily of just talking about the food in Nha Trang and the favorite sort of dishes they have for you there. Does this make sense, Ming Na?
yes,
What I want you to try do, we'll do this again, and what I want you to get in your mind, because this makes it much easier for you, is just talk about some experience. I know I've mentioned before about talking about stories. So you are telling a story, but based on your experience that you had at Nha Trang. So, for example, you were talking about the food. Um,
yes.
tell me more about the food now, Ming No.
Actually, I haven't eaten that food, but I have just picked up a story.
Ah, okay. All right. We'll just talk about any. You could say Nha Trang has, and just what is a food you like? What is a food you like?
Actually, I am a foodaholic, so there's not certain food, but if to choose, I'm gonna try
Yes,
again with the food that I had mentioned before is the grilled squid,
yes.
adding with the adding some spice.
Okay, good. I'm a foodaholic. You know, there's so many different types of food in the Chang, but I especially like the grilled squid with added spice. Now, how do they make this? How do they make this? Ming-na?
They grill it on a barbecue
Mm-hmm.
machine,
On a barbecue, yeah, yes,
and they sprinkle some spice and salt onto the squid,
yes. And then
and then they turn it around until it's finished.
until it's finished, yeah. And then what? Then do they put it on a plate for you?
Actually, I make up this, making up this story, so I'm gonna think about some like TV scenes I have seen before. I think they're
Yeah,
gonna put it on a stick and
right.
eat it like naturally.
Okay, good, good, good. So that's what you talk about. Even if you didn't do this in Nha Trang, doesn't matter, of course. Just talk about something like your favorite food that you have maybe in Hanoi, okay?
Yes,
And just describe that. But just say this is what you had in Nha Trang. Does that make sense?
yes.
Yeah, because remember, all they want to do is hear you talking for 2 minutes. All right, they don't know that you didn't eat this in Nha Trang, and they don't care. Okay,
Okay.
yeah. So, and when I say you need easy to fill up the 2 minutes, if you just talk in more detail about one or two things. That's why I was asking you questions about the squid. So you say, I'm a foodaholic, but one of my favorites is grilled squid with added spices. You can find this in restaurants, but also they do it in some stalls on the street. And what they do is they get the squid and they grill it over a very hot barbecue. And they grill it first on one side, then on the other side, and then they sprinkle it all with these special spices. And then when it's cooked, they don't give it to you on a plate. They actually give it to you on a stick. And it's really cheap. It only costs about, yeah, it only costs about maybe 15,000 dong. And so when
Yes.
I was eating this in Nha Trang, I made sure I bought 3 or 4 of these, because just watching them cook and smelling the smell of the food just made me so hungry. So I had to buy 3 or 4 of them. See what I mean, Ming Na? I'm
Yes.
I'm just talking about the experience of the squid. So I don't need to sit here and think, oh, how many different things are there in Nha Trang? What can I think of? They have food, they have the sea, they have lots of different shops. Just focus on one or two things and talk about that in detail. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So I want you to do this one again, all right? And this time
Again
I
with
just,
the grilled squid. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, the Nha Trang thing, or you can name another city, any city, of course, up to you. um, and,
Okay.
and and just focus on one or two experiences that either you have had there or one or two experiences that you can say you had there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'll give you another minute to prepare this. All right.
Okay.
Please tell me if this doesn't make sense or you're not sure. So you are very good at talking from experience. I've talked about this with you before. So for you, it is just best to focus on one experience and talk about that.
I think
Like
I
the time,
understand.
like the time you talked to me about the fact when you lost your wallet. Remember? You talked to me
Yes.
about that some time ago. That was a great story, and that easily filled up 2 minutes. And you just talked about the one thing. So like I say, it's so much easier when you are just talking about one thing, one experience, one story. Okay, that is 1 minute. Are you ready to go?
I think so.
Okay, so please start whenever you're ready.
Yes. When I have to tell about a city that I have visited and I want to go back in the future, it will definitely will be definitely Nha Trang. Um, it's a city which located in the middle of Vietnam and is famous for many things like their sea, which is have a fresh sea water and crystal clear. Moreover, I think the most thing that impressed me is their lively night market. I have see a lot of their specialities for, but the one that always bear in my mind is the grilled squid with some add with adding some spice. So that's kind of interesting to see them to keep an eye on their procedures. First time, uh, Firstly, they sprinkle some spice onto the squid, then they put it in some spinning wheel and turn it around. I think it's the most attractive thing to see because they didn't put it on a barbecue system as I have seen in Hanoi. Moreover, the aromas is quite made me like give me a mouthful of waters and I can't wait to try them. Then they instead of putting on a plate, they put it on a stick and just give it to me. And I have to maybe purchase for a little of money for maybe about like 50,000 dong. Which is kind of a little bit higher than in Hanoi, but however the taste is like significant, and I think it's the
Okay,
world
that's 2
class. Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah.
That's 2 minutes. Okay, so again, so this is better. This is better.
Yes.
Yeah. Ngọc Linh, chào con.
Hello, teacher.
How are you, Ngọc Linh?
I'm good.
Good, good. So I thought you might like to join us if you're free. We're practicing speaking. Okay. All right. Would you like to practice this,
Yes.
Ngọc Linh?
Yes.
Okay, good. Good. All right. So at the moment we're looking at, can you see on your screen, Ngọc Linh, a document with a part 2 speaking topic on it?
Yes, I can see the question number 84.
Correct. Okay, great. All right. So I'll come to you in a moment. So going back to you, Ming Nok, that was much, much better. Okay.
Yes.
How did you feel about that?
I think I interrupt like I pause a little bit more than
Mm-hmm.
the last time, but I think the Bruce Grid is kind of more interesting to tell about.
It was. It was more interesting and it made more sense. Okay? Because you were just talking about the one experience. And you talked about how they made it, how they put it on a stick or put it on some sort of wheel, I think you said, not on the barbecue.
Yeah.
Okay? And you talked about the aroma, which was great. You talked about how they made it. By the way, the English expression is mouth watering. Mouth
Oh, yes,
watering.
it's mouth
Okay.
watering.
Yeah, you said mouthful of water, which is not the same
Yeah.
thing.
Yes. I have just learned this colloquialism, but I think I forgot it about like have a mouthful of something or a handful
Yes,
of something. Yeah.
yes, yeah. It is a handful of something, but it's mouth-watering. But
Yes.
but that's what I mean about using idioms. If you don't use them exactly correctly, then it doesn't sound right. Okay, so if you're going to use those sorts of things, which is good if you can, but you must use them exactly correctly. Okay, otherwise they will treat it as a mistake.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and the only other thing, and you hadn't finished yet, I know, Ming Nok, but so the only other thing is you were talking about how it tastes, and you said it was significant.
Oh,
Is that
I
right?
think yeah, I think I'm that is when I went out of idea and I kind of think, oh, so what to say about the taste?
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
Well, I'm sure you can, Mignon. Well, did it taste? Obviously, the word you use is delicious. You know,
Oh
it
yes.
tastes. Yes, just use. So you don't. Obviously, something doesn't. You can't use it. Tasted significant. Doesn't make sense. Okay,
Yes, I think I
tasted.
forgot it for a while.
Yeah, yeah, tasted delicious. Okay, it tasted delicious, and it was a little bit scrunchy, and the spice made it a little bit hot, but I don't mind that. You know, I like food that's a little bit spicy. Mm. And I had four of them to eat. And when I had finished the four of them, I was so full, I didn't even have room for any ice cream.
Oh
Okay?
yes.
Okay, that sort of thing. That's, does that make sense? That's how you do it.
Yes.
Okay? So let me give you both an example. Okay, Knockling, it's going to be your turn in a moment. Okay? Okay, Knockling? But let me just give you a little bit of an example of how I think this should go. Well, a city that I visited and really want to go back to is Da Nang. Now, Da Nang, it's a bit of a tourist city, and you can see why, because it has this beautiful, beautiful long beach and this really crunchy white sand, and everything's so clean. Some parts of Vietnam, they're a little bit dirty, a little bit untidy. There's a lot of rubbish, plastic bags, things like that, lying around, but not in Da Nang. I think Da Nang, they are so conscious that they're a tourist city that they keep everything just so clean. Anyway, when I first got to Da Nang, I checked into my hotel and I went down to the beach. And even though by that stage it was about 6 o'clock in the evening, it was still really warm, maybe about 30 degrees, and the beach was absolutely packed. There were thousands of people there, not just foreigners, but also local people as well. And I went into the water. The water was so warm and so clear. And so I stayed in there for maybe about 30 minutes, just swimming up and down, which made me really hungry, of course. Now, I'm a bit of a foodaholic, so I was really looking forward to getting something to eat. And by the beach, they had all these food stalls selling this most delicious smelling food. Does that make sense, Ming?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just talking about my experience of visiting Da Nang, going to the beach, and then going to the food stall. Then, if I kept going, I could describe the food stall, and then I could describe which particular food I picked. Then I could describe what it looked like, what it tasted like, and by that stage, I would be going for about 5 minutes. All right.
Yes.
Yeah, so because it's so easy to talk about something like that when you can picture it in your mind. All right? And like I say, it you can do this too, and you don't have to have done it in Nha Trang. Just picture something in your mind like that, some delicious food maybe you've had from a restaurant or a food stall, and talk about it like you had it in Nha Trang. Okay?
Yeah.
Right. Nok Ling.
Yes,
All right. Do you need some time to prepare, Knockling, or are you ready to talk now?
I need some time to prepare.
Okay, you have 1 minute. Knockling, okay? So, Ming Nok, does that make sense? I keep asking you this, but an important thing because this means that you are never tricked by any question where you think you don't know.
Yeah. Because I am a master at making up some stories.
Yeah, but it's not even you don't even almost have to make them up, really. You're just talking about things from your experience that maybe you put into the situation that the question is describing.
Yes.
Yeah, one thing I found, Vietnamese students, it's very hard for you to be creative because you're so used to just repeating what the teacher has already told you. And I'm trying to give you a way to free your mind, if you like, to be creative so you can answer any question. Okay, Minh Ngoc, that is 1 minute. So you have 2 minutes to tell me about a city you visited. Ngoc Linh, starting from now, please.
I'm going to tell you about a story that I have visited Haiphong City. It's also my hometown. It's known as a tourism and haven city. When I was young, I usually went to Haiphong every weekend, and now when I become mature and with a grade 11, I just only went to it. I just only go to it every my summer. So one time when my family have a trip to Samson Beach, I'm very looking forward about it, and I have prepared many swimsuit for the trip. When I arrived, I run very fast to the beach. Um, um, when I came to the beach, me and my cousin built some sand castle, which is the most interesting game with the children that time. Um, After that, we went to swim for 2 or 3 hours. Although I don't know how to swim, I didn't know how to swim professionally, but I'm very happy. After that, we went to a restaurant to taste some um, seafood. I can saw that fresh and delicious. Um, mm, and I think it's a great memory to cherish. And if I have
Okay, that's 2 minutes, Ngoc Linh. 2 minutes. So that's good. So the good thing is you were able to talk for 2 minutes. Your coherency was pretty good. You know, your what you were saying to me made sense. You know, you were telling me about your day at the beach. Okay. You were a little bit hesitant because I could see you were kept thinking of new things to say. So again, what I was saying to Minh Ngoc before you joined the class is just try to focus on 1 or 2 experiences that you had and talk about that in more detail. So there were 2 things that you mentioned in your talk that you could focus on, I think. Number 1 was you built a sandcastle, okay, with your cousin. Is that right? Okay. Sorry, Ngoc Linh, I can't hear you. Is your microphone on?
I think my
Oh, yeah,
internet
I can
was
hear you
bad.
now. Right. Yeah, can hear you now. So you could talk in more detail about the sandcastle. Okay. If you have enough detail about that, how big was the sandcastle? Okay. What did the sandcastle look like? Yeah. How long did it take you to build? What happened after that? Did you and your cousin just leave it and go away, or did you knock it down? So that's one thing you could talk about in detail. The other, of course, is about you mentioned after the beach you went to the restaurant and the food. Okay, so
Yes.
food is really, really easy to talk about because then all you do is just talk about at the restaurant they had my favorite food, which is whatever your favorite food is. You know, I really like this food because it tastes like, and then just describe in detail the food. Okay, so instead of
Yeah.
trying to, was Haiphong, was that the place you were talking about?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Okay. So instead of trying to think of, oh, we did this in Haiphong, then we did that, then we did this, then we did that, which is hard. Okay. Just concentrate on 1 or 2 things. one or two experiences you had there and talk about it in detail. Okay? All right. And like I was saying to Minh Ngoc, much easier to talk about something like the food you had, because food you can talk about in detail. What was the food? What did it look like? What did it taste like? Was it better than the food you have in Hanoi? Would you really go back to Haiphong just to have that food again? Okay. And and again, like what did it smell like? And it was so yummy that I went back and I had more, and then I was so full that I had to sit still for about an hour because I couldn't move. That sort of thing. All right? When you were just talking about one thing, much easier than trying to think of, we went to the beach, we made a sandcastle, went for a swim, we went to the restaurant, after the restaurant, went for a walk. That's not very interesting and doesn't get you the chance to show your vocabulary. So both of you, be very careful. Try not to give lists of things. Okay, just try to focus on one or two experiences. So again, with you, Minh Ngoc, you don't say, oh, I went to Nha Trang and they have a nice beach and they have a nice restaurant and where we were staying was nice. And then after that, we went to walk along the beach and that was nice. And then not give a list of things, because
Yes.
doesn't give you the chance to show your vocabulary. And also it's hard because then you start to run out of things to talk about. So again, pick one or two things and talk about them in detail. Food is an easy one because, like I say, food you can use in many, many different situations, such as this one. You look at this question, and obviously it's not about food, but you can easily put food into it. You look at
Yes.
this question and it's about a city when you first look at it. But actually, what did you do in the city? I ate food. And then you talk about the food. Okay?
Yes.
Okay. Does that make sense to you, Knockling?
Yes, I got it.
Yeah. So don't just look at the question and say, oh, I've got to talk about a city and I've got to talk about all the things that are in this city and all the different things I did in this city. Oh, this is so hard. Okay, focus on one or two things like food, or maybe some exciting experience you had there. Maybe when you were there, Ngoc Linh, I don't know, you fell off your motorcycle. Okay, Minh Ngoc, maybe when you were there, you lost something and you spent a whole day trying to get it back, or something like that. Okay, just focus on one experience. I hope that makes sense. All right,
Yes.
going to give you one more of these, and then we'll go on to part 3. All right, I'll give you another speaking part 2 topic and see how you go with this one. Actually, I should just write it up for you. Hang on. Let me find one. Okay. By the way, these are all ones that come from the that maybe will be questions this year. Minh Ngoc, the one you were talking about.
Is the second quarter forecast?
Yes, it is. I'm trying to find one that's a bit different from. A lot of these are for older people. They say things that, things to do with workplaces, which of course, okay. Can you see as I write in the document or not? Minh
Yes,
Ngoc?
I can see it now.
Okay. Whoops, can't spell. Okay. Okay, Minh Ngọc, you have 1 minute to do this, all right?
Yes.
And same for you, Ngọc Linh, so I'll come to you straight after I've done Minh Ngọc, okay?
Yes.
Okay. Ngọc Linh,
Yes.
one mistake you made during your talk, I just remembered. You said very looking forward to it. Very looking forward to it. That's not
Yes.
correct in English. You say really looking forward to it is the correct collocation, okay?
Yes.
I was very looking forward to it is not correct in English. I was really looking forward to it, is what you say.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Minh Ngọc, that is 1 minute. Are you ready?
Yes, I
O-
think so. That's kind
Okay,
of new topic.
it is, but yeah, this is what you will have, of course, this sort of thing. Okay, 1 minute. Sorry, 2 minutes. Minh Ngọc, starting now.
When telling about a historical building that I have visited, which come off the top of my head is about the monument of Võ Thị Sáu, which she had a more familiar name we call Sáu Sister. So I have opportunity to went to her hometown, which located in the southern of Vietnam, and I have heard about her story, and I felt like really moved, and I'm gonna share with you now. It's a story about a 16 years old woman. Like she has a same age as me, but is in the world time, and the story told me that she has been forced by the invader by many like terrible method. For instance, like they using swords, they using guns to force her to tell about the truth of our like soldiers, and like where you hide them, like do you know where they are? And she say that I don't know, and she still keep that. She said never to surrender before all the invader. And after that, when she come to the church, and the lawyer said you you must die, and she said if I had to die for my country, I would rather die in the victory for my country. And after hearing,
Okay, that is 2 minutes, Minh Ngọc. 2 minutes, all right?
they are like how in in me I felt a sense of patriotism
Okay,
and
all
also
right.
the solidarity.
Minh Ngọc, can you hear me? Minh Ngọc?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, that is well past 2 minutes. Okay, well past 2 minutes. So first thing, so good story, Minh Ngọc. Okay, that's a good story. Good story. All right, but the
Yeah.
first thing I will say, 2 minutes actually isn't very long. I know it seems like a long time when you're talking, but if you've got an interesting story to tell or some interesting details, 2 minutes isn't long. So it's best for you to start your story straight away. Okay?
Yes.
Instead of saying, well, off the top of my head, I can't think of too many historical buildings, but I'm going to tell you a story about this statue that, and you are wasting too much time giving an introduction. You don't need to. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to tell you about the historical place I'm going to tell you about. It's not really a building, but it's actually a statue. The statue is of, okay?
Yes.
So start straight into it. All right? And that way, because again, you were telling an interesting story, but you only got halfway through, right? You just got up to
Yeah.
the bit where they told her she had to die, and that was 2 minutes.
Oh, yes.
Yes. All right. Okay. So, yeah, the topic was good, Minh Ngọc, much better. Okay, good story. All right, but yes, just remember when you're going to tell a story, 2 minutes is actually quite short. So no need to do introductions. There was something else you said in the middle too, which kind of wasted a bit of time. I can't remember what it was now. I'm going to tell you the story of this woman. You don't need to say something like that in the middle. Anyway, and just one mistake I heard, you talked about the statue was in the southern of Vietnam, which is not correct.
Yes.
You say it's in
Mm.
the south of Vietnam.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it must be southern Vietnam or
Yes,
south of Vietnam.
correct,
Okay.
correct. Okay. Okay, Ngoc Linh, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready now.
Okay. 2 minutes starting from now, Ngoc Linh.
Mm, yes, I will tell you about the Turtle Tower of Gum Lake in Hanoi. I think it's a historical building that's famous for its unique because it's like a floating structure on the water. So it's attract many tourists to visit it. Um, like others, I usually go to Lum Lake to see it at my weekends. Um, is very old, so and it need to preserve. So the government don't allow people to visit directly, but we can see it from the far distance. Is very beautiful. When I come to Hogum Lake and I take many photo, this what um carries memory. And while I visited, I also have some ice cream. I can feel the fresh, delicious taste, the vanilla flavor, um, and we also walk around and talk about our news and fashionable style or problem of life when we visited. Um, if I has a chance and more free time, I will um, definitely go to Gum Lake again to see the Turtle Tower. Um, can I end it?
Yes, you're a little bit short. You did. That was 1 minute 55 when you stopped. 1 minute 55. Okay, so what is the name? What is the building you were talking about? Turtle Building, is that right?
Tower of Gum Lake.
It's like a turtle tower, is it?
No, it's a old structure built on the lake, but the local people tell it's a total tower.
Turtle Tower. That's what I
Yes.
think you're saying? Okay, Turtle Tower. Okay, Minh Ngọc,
Yes.
did you listen to what she was saying?
Yes, I have heard.
Okay, what is the main thing she was missing that I'm going to talk to you about, Ngoc Linh? Minh Ngọc, what is the main thing that was missing from that talk?
The story?
Not the story. There was one thing. She was talking about the Turtle Tower and
About their story, the history about it. I'm
not
not
so much
sure.
the history, because they don't expect you to remember history too much, of course.
Yes.
All right. What was missing, Ngoc Linh, is you didn't tell me much about the tower. Okay. How big is it? Okay. About how old is it? What does it look like? You did say it was very beautiful, but that's the only time you describe it to me. All right. tell me more about the tower. Yeah, how big is it? How many rooms? Is it old or is it new? Okay,
Yes.
they are the sort of things you need to tell me about. What's it made of? Is it made of stone? Is it made of wood? When you go in the front door, what do you see? You know, do they have paintings there or engravings or what? That
Yeah.
is how you make your talk longer, okay? So that is what I'm going to keep saying to you. Just focus on one detail. So again, you told that that wasn't bad, Knockling. You talked about many different things. You know, you talked about meeting your friends. It was very beautiful. You had the ice cream. Okay, that was good. But you could have easily filled up 2 minutes talking about the tower. Okay, and how did you feel when you were there? I mean, did you feel, were you impressed or were you sad or were you disappointed because it wasn't quite as good as you maybe had thought?
Yes.
All right. So
Yes.
instead of just picking, yeah, the building I want to talk about is the building everyone calls the Turtle Tower, and it's at Hong Kiem Lake. And I like to go there and visit, and I take photos. Then after I've taken photos, we have ice cream. And okay, again, doesn't tell me anything much. All right, I want to hear about the Turtle Tower. All right, you say it's beautiful. Why is it beautiful? You know, is it beautiful because of its architecture? All right, or something else? Is it beautiful because of its position on the lake?
Yes.
So it's almost just like you have to be thinking in your mind what it looks like and then just describe it. You know, do you
Yes.
go across a bridge to get to this tower? How much does it cost? Is it crowded? When you walk in the front of it, are there lots of tourists around taking pictures? Are there lots of people taking pictures on their phones for their Instagram accounts or for TikTok? You know, all those sort of little details. Just picture yourself going into this and looking around and tell me about it. Okay?
Yes.
All right. So we're both going to do this one more time, same topic. So you know what I want you to do, Mignock?
Yes.
I want you to tell me in 2 minutes the story of the statue and the woman, okay?
Yes. Okay.
Okay? Do you want to prepare for a few seconds?
Yes, a few seconds, please.
Okay. And Knockling, all right, same thing for you. You're going to tell me about the tower. Okay? All right. Let me know when you're ready, Mignock. Okay, a few more seconds, Mignock. Okay, Mignock, time's up. You have
Okay.
2 minutes starting from now, please.
So when telling about a historical building I have visited, what come up at the top of my head is the monument of 40 Arches. Have a family name, more familiar name is South Sister. So I'm gonna tell a little stories about the history of this statue. Uh, this is about a girl who is 16 years old who has like as the same as age as me, but during the war time, she has been like a spy for our country. So when the conqueror like caught her red hand and forced her to tell the truth, like they had them to tell about the where our soldiers are, like where did you hide them? And she said, and she never surrendered before the invader. And in finally she when she come to the church, and she was have a quote that if I had a choice, I would rather sacrifice in glory for my countries. And when I heard that quote, I find it really moved, and I'm also find a sense of patriotism. And furthermore, I find really proud of my predecessors that they have sacrificed for their country. And since that, I have more and more motivation to study, to like enhancing our country, our nation, and to preserve the efforts of our ancestors have been made for us.
Okay, that's 2 minutes. Mengnock, 2 minutes.
Yes,
Okay. All right. That was better, Mengnock. Okay.
yes,
You were talking about the story and you talked about how you felt. Okay. So
yes,
much, much better. Much better. So your pronunciation was pretty good. Just I heard you make one mistake with colloquialism. You said caught red hand. Okay, it's actually red-handed. All right,
oh yes,
red-handed.
caught
She was
red-handed.
caught red-handed with like ed on the end of hand.
Yes,
Okay, but yes, so but overall that was better, Mingnock.
yes,
That was better. But again, still a little bit hesitant. And the only way you are going to get better, of course, is to practice just that sort of thing. And as I think I've said before, use your phone, Mingnock, okay, to just
yes,
go online, go to somewhere, where the questions are. If you've got access to those 2025 questions, and practice some of them.
yes,
Okay, and then listen back to yourself and see what you think. The more you do that, the easier it gets. Okay, when I was the same age as both of you, Mingnock and Lockling, I was very shy. I couldn't talk much at all, but I practiced and practiced. Okay, and it is a skill you can learn. The more you do it, all right, the easier it gets. Okay. Lockling, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready now.
Okay, 2 minutes, Lockling, starting now.
So I will tell you about the Turtle Tower of Bloom Lake in Hanoi. It's like a symbol of Hanoi City. So whenever people travel there, they should visit it. Um, I think it's famous for its unique because it looks like a structure floating on the water. Um, I don't know about the materials they use to build it, but I believe that it's made from many big stone. Outside the structure, there is many some like moss covering around the structure. Is a value architecture, so government officials don't allow people to visit it directly, but we can see it from the far distance. Um, it's like a turtle house because some local people say that on some special occasion they can see a big and old turtle arrive on the land of it. And I think that nobody can know what inside the tower because we can visit it. But I wish that sometime the government can allow people to see it. But for some reason, I usually visit the Gum Lake to take photos and to grab some coffee with my friends. I think the landscape is very beautiful and it's make me feel very comfortable and very happy see it. When I visit the lake,
Okay, that's 2 minutes. Not Ling. Okay, so this time you were easily able to talk for 2 minutes. So that was better, but I still can't picture in my mind what the tower looks like. Okay? Except that you said to me some people think sometimes it looks like a turtle. Okay?
yes.
All right. Like how big is it? You didn't tell me that. How big is it?
I can go look like small distance to it to know how big it is
Yeah,
because
like
like
yeah. So you could say, is it like, well, you know how we talk about buildings have stories in English. Yeah, this building has 4 stories, 5 stories, 6 stories. Means the same as floors. 4
yes.
floors, 5 floors. Is it the same height as a 5-story building, a 5-floor building, or is it bigger or smaller?
I think it's smaller.
Okay. How much smaller? Is it the same size as a 2-story building or a 3-story building?
1-story buildings.
Ah, okay, good. Right. So you say the tower, it's about the size of a 1-story building. It's not very big. Okay.
Yes.
You did tell me that you thought you're not sure what it is made of, but you think it's made of some large stones. That was good. Okay, I understood that straight away. Good. All right. What else? How old is it?
I think it's more than 1,000 years.
Right, more than 1,000 years old. Again, you don't have to remember exactly, of course. Yeah, you can say this tower has been beside the lake for over 1,000 years, I think. I'm not sure exactly what it's made of, but I think it's large stones. Not very big. It's only about the size of a 1-story building. Can you go inside, Knockling?
No, I can't.
Okay, tell me that. You can't go inside it. Okay, can you get close to it?
No.
Right. Okay, you can't go inside it. You can't get close to it because is it in the middle of the lake?
Yes.
Right. Tell me that, okay? Because it's in the middle of the lake. But it is very scenic, okay? And it is part of the landscape of the lake, having this tower sitting in the middle. And especially on days when there is some mist around, okay? It looks almost like it was 1,000 years ago. Things like that. Does that make sense, Notling?
Yes.
Okay, tell me, yeah. So you did better. Okay, you did give me some description. You talked about how you felt about it. Okay, and you gave me a little bit of description, but you can do more. All right.
Yes.
And again, it should be easy for you because you've seen this tower your entire life. Okay, so you can easily almost shut your eyes and then tell me about this tower.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Do you have any questions, Knockling, about that?
No, I don't.
Okay, so the same thing as I was saying to Ming Nok, the best way to practice doing these is to use your phone. Okay, get some of the topics and just practice, talking for 2 minutes into your phone and listen to yourself back. All right, both of you have enough vocabulary, okay, to get a 7 in IELTS. All right, both of you already know all the words you need to know. Ming Nok?
Yes.
Okay, so I wouldn't worry too much about vocabulary, Minh Ngoc, for you. You already know enough words, Minh Ngoc, okay? It's just making sure you use them correctly.
Yes.
All right? And same for you, Ngoc Linh. You already know enough words. All right? So it's just using them correctly, making sure you have the correct form of each word. And again, just practicing doing the 2-minute talks. All right. Have you got a little bit more time, or do you want to finish now? Minh Ngoc?
I'm free all this morning, so it's okay.
Okay. All right. Go for another 10 minutes, I think. So we'll do some part 3 questions now. Haven't done any part 3 yet. Okay. All right. So these are the part 3 questions from the test. These questions are a bit weird, but anyway, I'll ask you. So, part 3 questions. Remember, because we've talked about this in the lessons, there are 2 strategies for answering part 3 questions. First one is, 1, you answer the question, you explain in more detail, okay, and then you give an example. All right. Second one is when they ask you to give your opinion about something. What do you think of? And for a part 3 question, remember you look at both sides of something. You look at the pros and cons, or the advantages and disadvantages, and then say which one you agree with. Does that make sense, Ngoc Linh?
Yes.
Okay. Minh Ngoc, does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay, so those are the 2 strategies, just depending on whether they ask you an opinion question or not. So, here's the first question, Minh Ngoc, for you. What kind of buildings are popular in Hanoi these days? By the way, is that an opinion question, Minh Ngoc? What kind of buildings are
No.
popular in Hanoi these days?
It's an explained question.
It is an explain. It's not an opinion question. So you use strategy number 1. Okay, Minh Ngoc, answer the question. What kind of buildings are popular in Hanoi these days?
To be honest, I think Hanoi citizens are looking towards some skyscrapers or like an apartment because the increasing needs of residents for residential area is like. Okay, teacher, can I start again? I think I miss you the phone. Yes.
You did, yes. Okay, start again. Start again.
Yes. So I think to be honest, I think Hanoi citizens are now looking towards to some skyscrapers and more high buildings with apartments because there are the increasing needs of residents to get more and more place to live. On the other hand, the of living area, area of living is kind of being shrinking. So it's first need to build more and more high building for living. Oh, I think I got a lot of. It's not too.
You're
Yes.
again, Minh Ngoc, you're thinking too much. Okay,
Yes.
you are thinking too much. Again, the question not so hard. What kind of buildings are popular in Hanoi at the present time? Okay, tall skyscrapers. Pronounced skyscraper, by the way, skyscraper.
Skyscraper. Yeah.
Skyscrapers. I think people these days prefer to live in taller buildings because they are more modern and they like modern apartments. Some of these buildings that they are now constructing around Hanoi, they are more than 20, 25, 30 floors, and they have hundreds of apartments in them. The apartments are different sizes, 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, some of them are 3 bedrooms, but they are very modern. They are full of all sorts of modern appliances, and people these days, they prefer living in these compared to the older houses that people in Hanoi used to live in old times. Okay, Mingna?
Yes.
Okay, nice, simple answer. All right. What sort of buildings are more common in Hanoi these days? Skyscrapers. Why do people like to live in skyscrapers? Tell them. Okay.
Yes.
And you just think of ideas, you think, well, why would I like to live in a skyscraper? Or maybe you don't want to live in a skyscraper or an apartment. Okay. All right.
Okay.
So just nice and simple, Ming Nok. Okay, nice and simple. All right. Nok Ling.
Yes.
All right. Compare old buildings and modern buildings. Okay. Which of the two do you think people prefer to live in?
Mm, is an interesting question, and personally, I think that the modern building is provide more benefits to our life. Because in Hanoi nowadays, there's many like harbor buildings for the for many purpose like it's a place for work or study. Some of them are the accommodation. I think the main reason of it is about the increasing of the population. Mm, and inside that building, it can provide the convenient due to their modern modern items, such as some AI system, we can make your life feel more easier. Uh, when I become mature, I personally prefer the modern buildings more.
Okay. Not bad, Nok Ling, not bad. So you gave some reasons about why modern buildings are better. That's good. Okay. You're good. Again, you need to be a little bit more fluent. You're still quite hesitant, again, because you are trying hard to think of ideas. Don't need to think of too many ideas. Just think straight away. Why do people like to live in modern buildings as compared to old buildings?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, first thing is, well, they are newer. They have everything is more modern. They have more modern kitchens, more modern bathrooms. Um, a lot of the new ones now, they have more light. They are not maybe dark and uh, falling down like some of the old buildings. So on the whole, I think people like to live in new buildings now. Okay.
Yes.
Just simple. Don't need to think of too many reasons. All right, just a few. Like why are new buildings better than old buildings? All right. One thing you said to me, when I become mature. All right. Yeah, that sounds like something you would read in a book. Okay, it's not something you
Yes.
would say in conversation. When I become mature. Ming Nok,
Yes.
what is an easier way that you would use when you were talking of saying, when I become mature, instead of
When
instead of saying that, what could I say?
mature, I think I have never heard this word before.
Mature, haven't you?
I'm mature. Oh, when
Yeah.
I was older, when I become older.
Correct. When I become older, not Ling, when I grow up. Okay.
Yes.
When I become older, when I grow up, when I'm an adult.
Yes.
Okay. But to say when I become mature, yeah, it sounds like something out of a book, a textbook.
Yes.
Okay. Ming Nok, next question is for
Yes.
you. Okay. How do people in Hanoi feel about the old buildings in the city?
For me, as a Hanoi citizens, I think the old buildings is have like both advantage and disadvantage. On the one hand, is have its own historical looks, with like the it remind me of the previous millennium. But on the other hand, I think it's like make up for a large proportion of housing. It uh, I think a large proportion of housing that people can not get enough area for their living.
Okay, not bad. Not bad, Mignock. The ideas I would think of for this, okay, is that people, not just in Hanoi, but in many cities, they like old buildings for their historical value. Okay, it is a reminder of the past, a reminder of where we came from, and these buildings show a part of Vietnamese culture, which is disappearing these days. So people like them for that reason. But on the other hand, old buildings, well, because they're old, they're not so modern, and people these days would prefer to live in more modern apartments. Okay, Mignon?
Yes.
So do those reasons make sense? Mignon, do those reasons make sense?
Oh, yes, I can hear that.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, so again, just think of the simple things. Why do people like old buildings? Yeah, because of their historical value, because they are a symbol of the culture as it used to be, maybe 100 years ago. But on the other hand, old buildings are old buildings. These days, people prefer more modern buildings. And of course, apartments, skyscrapers, one tall skyscraper can replace, many, many old buildings. That makes sense to you, Knockling?
Yes.
Okay, all right. One last question before we finish. This one for you, Knockling. Still about buildings, of course, because remember the part 3 questions are always connected to the part 2 topic. Okay, so old buildings. Knockling, do older people and young people have the same attitudes to old buildings in Hanoi? Does
Mm,
that make sense?
yes.
In other
Is
words, do old people and young people, do they feel the same way about somewhere like the old quarter of Hanoi?
yes. Is an interesting question. Um, I think the old people and the young people show their attitude about the historical building, because this building um, has rekindled many great memory about Vietnamese past, uh, and is. Teacher, can I start again?
Okay, start again.
Mm,
Okay, so how do old people and young people feel the same way about old buildings in Hanoi?
um, I think it's an interesting question. Personally, I think all people in Hanoi show great attitude to old building because it's rekindle many great memory about Vietnamese past, and is a structure that we need to preserve about the historical valuable. And nowadays we have many campaign to enjoy about the worthy of preserving this structure.
Okay, good. That's fine, Notling. Very good. Good. Okay, that's the end of the lesson for today. All right. So before we go, Ming Nok, do you have any questions for me?
I think no. If I had, I would contact you through email.
That's fine. So Ming Nok, so if you want to um, send me some essay sometime, Minh Ngọc, that's fine, all right? If you want to practice your writing.
Yes, okay.
Okay. Now, Ngọc Linh, did you see I returned your essay to you? Did you see that, Ngọc Linh?
Yes.
Okay. I'll just talk a little bit about it with you now. Okay, to explain. Did what I write make sense, Ngọc Linh?
Yes, of course.
Actually, I will share it with you now so we can just look at it in detail. Okay, can you see your essay?
Yes, I can see it clearly.
Okay, good. All right. Minh Ngọc.
Yes.
Okay, going to come back to you in just a moment, Minh Ngọc. All right, can you see the essay topic?
Yes, I can see it.
Good. All right. So I'm going to come back to you in a moment, Minh Ngọc. I want you to tell me what advantages, disadvantages you're going to choose. Okay. Okay, Minh Ngọc.
Yes, okay.
Okay. Don't have to write anything. Just tell me when I come back to you. Okay. Ngọc Linh.
Yes.
All right. You can see the first bit I crossed out. Okay. This bit here, you don't need to say this. All right. It's wasting time. All right.
Yes.
In this essay, I'm going to discuss the benefits and drawbacks. Don't need to do that for this sort of essay. All right. You just start discussing the benefits and drawbacks. You don't need to say you're going to do that. All right. So for the introduction for all these essays, you do the paraphrase, which you did, and then you give your advantage and you give your disadvantage. Does that make sense, Ngọc Linh? Ngọc Linh, I can't hear
Give
you.
me some.
Okay, so instead of saying this, okay, which I've crossed out here, you give, so your main advantage that you've talked about is, getting more experience and learning more about the world, okay? So this is what you put in your introduction. So in your introduction, you put your paraphrase, then you put your advantage and your disadvantage, okay?
Yes.
Okay, Ngọc Linh, you put that in your introduction. You don't put in, I'm going to discuss. You just put in what the advantage is, what the disadvantage is. And then, of course, this is your first detailed paragraph. You talk about this. And this, of course, is your second detailed paragraph. Does that structure make sense, Ngọc Linh?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. Then at the end, the conclusion is basically just almost like a summary of this. Conclusion's very easy. You just basically summarize this, but using different words.
Yes.
Okay. Minh Ngọc.
Yes.
Okay, what's your advantage, disadvantage for this question?
I think the advantage, the first primary advantage of taking your years off will be like student will have more time relaxing after their examination.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And yes,
Disadvantage?
and on the other hand, the disadvantage might be when they finish their gap year, they will find there are less motivation to finish the remaining years of studying.
Okay, good. All right. So the main thing you need to ask yourself is, can you write a detailed paragraph about each of those, Minh Ngọc? This is what you
Yes.
need to ask yourself. Okay, so the first reason you think of is, okay, it'll give students a chance to relax after their exam if they take a year off. Okay, can you explain that? Can you, Minh Ngọc? You don't have to explain it to me now, but can you, do you think? Could you explain that?
I think yes.
Okay, all right. So that is the main criteria. When you think of an idea, You just need to think to yourself, actually, can I write about this for a whole paragraph?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And looking at your graph, Ngọc Linh. Okay. So you can see how I've changed the overview, Ngọc Linh, okay?
Yes.
So the main thing you can see, and you always lead with the most important thing first. So for me, looking at this graph, okay, the pattern of eating meat or consuming meat has changed a lot. Okay, that's the first thing I notice. In summary, the pattern of changing has changed a lot. You know, back in 1979, for example, beef was the most popular. Okay, lamb consumption was a lot higher. Chicken consumption was less. Years later, that has changed quite a lot. So that is the first sentence I would put in. Does that make sense, Ngọc Linh?
Yes.
Okay. And then I just put in a little bit, again, of a summary. And again, you started off with eating fish, but eating fish isn't the most interesting thing about this graph, Ngọc Linh. What is the thing that's changed the most in this graph, Ngọc Linh?
I think it's the consumption of chicken.
Correct. Okay, so you put that first. Okay. Consumption of fish is probably the least interesting thing, okay, because it hasn't changed much, right?
Yes.
Okay, it can be clearly seen that consumption of different meats has changed a lot over the, how many years is it? 20 odd years of this graph. Okay, consumption of chicken has increased significantly. What's happened, Minh Ngọc? What's happened to consumption of beef?
The consumption of beef significantly fluctuated.
Not fluctuate. Remember, look, you're looking at it overall. Overall.
But it's followed a downward trend.
It did. Okay. Yes, it fluctuated, but only here, really. Okay.
Yes.
It actually overall, remember, for your overview, you're looking at a summary. Overall, it's gone down. Just the same as chicken has gone up. What's happened to lamb? Ngọc Linh? What happened to lamb?
Like beef consumption is decreased significantly.
Yes, exactly. Lamb consumption also decreased significantly. Minh Ngọc, what happened to fish?
It's remain stable.
Remains that way, or it actually it declined
Slightly, yes.
Yes, correct. Declined slightly. Does that make sense, Ngọc Linh?
Yes.
Fish consumption declined slightly. Okay, so for the overview, the first thing you say is, the pattern of meat consumption changed a lot over this time period. And then you just quickly summarize what happened to each one. Okay, in that order. Does that make sense, Ngọc Linh?
Yes.
Okay, and then as you can see, my detail paragraphs, all I do is describe. This one is easy because we just put 2 of these in each paragraph. And then you just describe in a little bit more detail what happened to each one. Easy as that, okay? But you always do, Ngọc Linh, the most important one first. Okay,
Yeah.
so not fish as you did. Fish is not the most important thing on this graph. Okay? Yeah. Okay. All right, that's the end of the lesson. Again, are there any questions from either of you? No questions?
I think I have no question.
Okay, that's fine. Ngọc Linh, do you have any question for me?
No, I don't.
Okay, that's fine. All right, so I hope you both found that useful. Okay, like I was saying before, anytime you want to send me some more writing, that is fine. Minh Ngọc,
Yes.
little bit worried about you, Minh, because I don't want you to get too stressed about this.
Oh, yes.
Okay? All right? So that's why I say, Minh, you already have the vocabulary you need, I think. Your vocabulary is good enough. All right? But I find you are still not so fluent because your mind is too busy trying to think of ideas. Just take the simple ideas, Minh. And again, I emphasize, same to you, Ling, when you're answering questions, any speaking questions, talk to me just like I'm a friend or a member of your family in a cafe. So if I say to you, for example, Ling, what do you usually do at TET?
Can you answer the question again?
Yeah, what do you usually do at TET, Ling?
A test?
Hmm.
Mm, uh,
Easy question. What do you usually do during the TET holiday?
TET holiday.
Yes.
I hang out with my family and I visit my grandparents and my relative.
Okay, little bit more detail. I hang out with my family. Where? Where?
Mm, I
Where,
went out.
Ling?
Yes.
Okay, I usually hang out with my family at home, and then we often go to visit my grandparents or other relatives. My family comes from Haiphong. Sometimes we go back there to meet everyone.
Yes.
Okay, answer like that. Minh Ngoc.
Yes.
Okay, what city would you like to visit overseas in the future?
Actually, I'm not particularly fond of any country, but if I have to choose, I would choose maybe Melbourne in the Australia. I heard there are a lot of must visit places, and also there is famous for their maybe the opera house.
Okay, fine. Minh Ngoc, good. Okay, that's good. Okay, nice, simple ideas. Okay, all right. So, hope you enjoy the rest of your day, both of you.
Yes.
Okay, and like I say, anytime you have any questions, anytime you have any writing, please send it to me, and I will see you both again on Sunday.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Bye, Minh Ngoc.
Yes. Goodbye, teacher.
Bye-bye. Bye, Ling.
Goodbye, teacher.
Bye. See you later. Bye-bye.
Yes. Thank you a lot today.
Okay, you're welcome, Minh Ngoc. But like I say, don't try not to stress too much, Minh Ngoc.
Yes.
Okay? All right? And
I'm
just
gonna try
go
this.
look. Yeah, just look at those two websites I gave to you, all right? Don't go looking at too many other websites on the internet. It just gets a bit confusing.
Yes. Okay.
Okay? And again, remember that simple and correct is always better than complex and wrong. Okay?
Yes. Okay.
Okay. All right, Minh
Yes.
Ngoc.
Goodbye, teacher.
All
Yeah.
right, look after yourself. See you on Sunday.
Yes. See you
Okay.
soon.
Bye. Bye-bye.